Welcome to this training screencast on lookup stores. If you haven't watched the screencast on data stores, which just really goes over the general concepts of a data store, please watch that first because you will need that to understand what I'm going to explain here. So I'm going to be covering lookup stores, what are lookups, old versus new lookups, and creating lookup stores. So firstly, what are lookups? Well, lookups are a way to translate data during loading into the data warehouse, and they ensure data consistency, also known as data conformance. They fit into this middle area here, which is a transform area. So when we're extracting data from the source, we apply a transform, which is business rules and validations, before we load it into the data warehouse. This is where lookups are applied. You should not use lookups to extract data. It's very hard to maintain and understand what it's going to affect if you make a change to that lookup. Taking a look at the old versus new lookups. Old lookups were based on a fixed table, which was not that flexible. And the new lookups are a data store, so they're very flexible. You can adjust the fields, the indexes, etc., and you can customize it exactly according to your needs. So taking a look at InfoStore, the old lookups were managed under the data management section. We click lookups. I'm going to add a lookup called fun codes. And all we can really do here is apply some business names to some fixed fields. So I'm going to keep it simple. The input I'm just going to call external code. That's the code coming in from the external system, and the input, the internal code is the one that I want to store within the data warehouse. Notice that once I've done that, I'm now seeing the business names and I can manage the data. So on the old lookups we can manage the data and create the lookup all in the same screen. If I save that, I've generated the lookup and I've saved the data. That data is stored in two database tables called SGLookup and SGLookupData. We can't really change the structure of these tables, we're just applying a view or business names over these fixed fields. That's very different to the new lookups, or the lookup stores, which are managed under the development tab. This is where we actually create the lookups. Lookup stores. I'm going to call that fun codes as well. And you can see that the template creates two fields for me. I'm going to rename that int code just to follow the previous example, and external code. And when I click deploy, it actually generates the database table for me. I'm going to allow editing on those fields, click deploy, and the database structures are actually generated for me. And if I look at the deployment summary, I can see all of the database structures that are being deployed. Don't worry, these look a bit cryptic, but you'll never have to use them. Everything's hidden from you, and you'll only be using the business names. This is just a technical way of handling this. How do we manage the data in the new lookup stores? We then have to go to the data management screen, lookup stores. When I click that, all I'm seeing here is a preview. I'm not actually managing the data. If I double click, I go into the editing screen, and now I can actually manage the data. Same as before, I can put in the external code, the internal code. Notice that on this editor the new row is at the top, whereas the old editor the new row was down at the bottom. I can save that, and I've actually saved the data. Bear in mind, this has actually created a table for you inside the database. So if I were to go and look at the database, I would actually see a table named LK, BD, etc. That's where the data is stored. You only really need to do this for troubleshooting purposes. In the next session I'll explain how to use the data and how to actually do lookups during the transformation process.